The SSN Group 2 project, or as it's probably known as, the Valiant class attack submarine, was the first proper nuclear-powered attack submarines built for the Royal Navy. Now, with the success of HMS Dreadnought, not that one, but this one, the Royal Navy decided it was time to build their first class of nuclear attack submarine, but this time using a British-designed nuclear reactor. The Valiant class would be a class of 2 vessels designed and ordered, being 4,000-ton boats on the surface and 4,900 tons submerged. They'd be 87 metres long, 10.13 metres wide, and have a draft of 8.2 metres. They'd be powered by the first British Rolls-Royce pressurised reactor, producing steam to drive 2 steam turbines powering 1 shaft for 29 knots submerged or 20 knots on the surface. Their range would be unlimited, but they could operate for a month before needing to replenish provisions for their 103 officers and ratings. The ships would have a towed array, a bow-mounted sonar, and a navigational radar operating in the India band frequencies, but unfortunately I can't actually find any sources that state what these vessels actually carry. However, we do know their weapons loadout. So this would be 6 21-inch torpedo tubes mounted in the bow for 32 torpedoes, these being the Mark 8 or the Tigerfish. Now you could remove all the torpedoes and fit a staggering 64 Mark 5 or Mark 6 mines in there. 14 more, however, than the Oberon class from last Thursday. However, in later refits they could carry a maximum of 26 torpedoes, as well as 6 Harpoon Block B anti-ship missiles, or Stonefish and Sea Urchin mines. The 2 vessels of the class would be HMS Valiant and HMS Warspite, and these would be ordered between late August 1960 and mid-December of 1962, laid down between January 21st 1962 and December 10th 1963 at Vickers in Barrow. With Valiant launching in December of 1963 and Warspite on September 25th 1965, both vessels would be accepted into service in July 1966 and April 1967 respectively. The expected building costs overall for both 2 SSNs would be roughly £46.8 million, quite cheap for a class of attack submarines. However, I do think with inflation it might be a little bit more. Now, Warspite and Valiant would be better boats than the Dreadnought as well. Their class would be very, very quiet, something that kind of helps the longevity of a submarine, one thinks. Now it is to note before we do continue that this class, so the Valiants, would actually go on to influence the Churchill class, which are, well, to my eyes, I'm pretty good at identifying ships. They look exactly the same. I'm pretty sure the only difference is probably a nuclear reactor inside. I don't know. But yeah, there's limited pictures for this video. So, let's cover the careers of the ships, okay? So, it's easy to cover the individual ships' careers, so we'll have a go at starting with one, and we'll start with the Valiant. So, Valiant would enter service in 1966, where she would patrol, or 2, looking for some pesky Soviet submarines off Norway and also the Barents Sea, as well as possibly taking a trip or 2 into below the polar ice cap. Now, don't quote me on that, because, well, let's just put it this way. We don't know. So, what we do know is she did make a couple of stints into the Eastern Mediterranean off the Bosphorus Strait. Now, in 1970, she would have a refit, as well as in 1977, in between patrols and doing submarine stuff. Remember that their missions are classified according to the new Royal Navy Submarine Service recruitment video. If you don't know what I mean, go have a check of it. But also, in 1977, Valiant would be shadowing a Soviet submarine, and she suffered a high-pressure salt water breach in one of her pipes, and so the basically flooded the reactor compartment with seawater. Now, the reactor was shut down and the pipe was isolated, and the compartment was pumped dry. She would then carry on back home for minor repairs to the pipe under her own literal steam. When the Falklands War came around in 1982, she was set off Argentina's Patagonia coast, transmitting 300 air raid warnings over 101 days. Surprisingly enough, she'd actually be damaged by a returning Mirage who dropped its bombs when it was returning home. However, I bet the pilot didn't realise how close he got to actually sinking an attack submarine. But in 1989, she would have her refit. However, this would be the final refit before she was decommissioned in August of 1994. It was reported that she had run aground in the northern regions of the Norwegian Sea in March of 1991, and after that she would develop engine problems, where she would actually be decommissioned. Now, after decommissioning, she would have some of her parts and internals used to restore HMS Courageous, which was a Churchill-class submarine who had been selected to become a museum ship. Now, Valiant remained alongside her sister ship in Devonport Dockyard, fun enough, near HMS Conqueror. HMS Warspite's career, like the battleship, is a little bit more interesting. So in October of 1968, so literally a year after she was commissioned, whilst following a Soviet boat identified as an Echo 2 class SSGN, Warspite collided with the stern and propellers of that boat. Ironic. Submarines crash into submarines. Apparently that's why you have sonar, and apparently it doesn't really work. Anyway, so Warspite suffered damage to her fin, but after surfacing to inspect the damage, she was able to submerge and return home, and then later sailed to Barrow for proper repairs. On the 2nd of March of 1976, Warspite was alongside in Liverpool when she suffered a fire in her diesel generator room, in one of the most serious incidents in Royal Navy nuclear submarine history. The fire filled the aft end of the submarine with dense smoke, making it very difficult for the submarine's crew to monitor the status of the reactor, and Warspite's commanding officer considering scuttling the submarine in event to basically stop the nuclear reactor from detonating, which is a bad thing in Liverpool. So with the Liverpool Fire Brigade turning up, and after 4.5 hours of fighting the fire, the British Chernobyl didn't actually happen, and the submarine's marine engineering officer, Lieutenant Commander Tim Cannon, would be awarded the Queen's Gallantry Medal for his role in the response to the fire. Afterwards, Warspite underwent a 2-year refit, which was nearing completion just as the Falklands War with Argentina started. After the war ended, she carried out a record-breaking patrol around the Falkland Islands and the Argentine coast. She would also be home to the BBC television documentary called Submarine. Now, the submarine would be decommissioned due to a mechanical failure associated with the reactor in 1991. Mainly operating out of Her Majesty's Naval Base Clyde at Faslane, her hull would then be basically stripped, and the reactor would be isolated. She's currently laid up afloat in Devonport Dockyard alongside her sister ship Valiant, as well as Conqueror, some of the Swiftsures, and God knows what else is in there, because they all literally look exactly the same without a sail. Now, it's quite notable that she actually has a very notable commanding officer at one point, which includes Sandy Woodward. Now, Sandy Woodward would be the commander of the Falklands Conflict Battle Group, who then became the Commander-in-Chief Naval Home Command and rose to the rank of Admiral. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that's the end of that video. Hopefully you learned something new, because I most certainly did. Now, if you want to go and support the channel, there is a link in the description below to the Patreon page. I would recommend doing it, but it's up to you. Also, if you want to come and talk to me, there's a link in the description for the Discord channel. There's a couple of good guys over there. We talk about a wide variety of stuff. So yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. Hit that notification button to stay up to date with what I'm uploading, and obviously give it a like, give it a subscribe if you really want to, and comments always good. I like reading your comments. So take care. Catch you next time.